Hey there, and welcome to the Locker Room. Coach Giggs here in another installment of Showcase. And with me here today is Tammy Gaines in part one of a two-part series in Overcoming Adversity. Tammy has been widely recognized as an expert and a visionary leader among national media such as the Wall Street Journal. She has built an impressive client list that includes Marriott, the Marriott Resort, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, Consumer Reports, and the Commonwealth of Virginia. This is just a few of the many clients that she has. Tammy has an MBA from Columbia University and 25 years experience as an entrepreneur and executive. Tammy could not have foreseen any of the events that would take place from the boardroom to the hospital room, and I'll let her tell you a little bit about that in today's message, which is Overcoming Adversity. This is a young lady that as soon as I met her, we began to share some things, and she shared some personal stories with me of what she's done to overcome them, and I'm excited that she's here in the locker room today, and I know all of you will as well. If you want to know more about Tammy and you want to dig in more and possibly be on her radio show, click on the links down below so you can learn more about her. Tammy, welcome to the locker room.
Thank you so much, Coach.
You're so welcome.
I'm happy to be here.
You're welcome, and I'm happy to have you here. So Tammy, why don't you tell me and tell us out there a little bit about this subject that we've called today, called Overcoming Adversity. Tell me and us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. You know, it's interesting. When you say the word adversity, immediately people think something bad. But the truth is, I always believe your setback is your setup for your comeback.
Okay.
And I'm living proof of that. So about 7.5 years ago, I became unexpectedly pregnant with twins. I already had two gorgeous kids at the time. I was married for 12 years. And when I came home and told my husband that I was pregnant, he said, you can have them or you can have me, but you can't have both. So he gave me an ultimatum that, you'd never see coming. It was absolutely crazy. But that was a 30-second decision. And I said, great, I'll take the twins. I don't like you that much anyway. So that began a crazy divorce, very antagonistic. The stress of that landed me in the hospital on bed rest, trying to stay pregnant. I kept going into labor. So for 5 weeks, I was in the hospital bed. I wasn't allowed to even get up and go to the bathroom. And that's another story, because then you start to evaluate your life. But at the end of the 5 weeks, the twins were born by emergency C-section, weighing 1 pound, 12 ounces each.
Wow.
So just to give you perspective, that's like a pound of turkey when you go to the deli.
Yeah, my daughter was 2 pounds and 8 ounces, and I thought that was risky. That sounds
Everybody knows a preemie.
devastating, yeah.
It was, I don't know, a lot of it was devastating. Part of it was letting go of the normal pregnancy, because I had two, normal pregnancies. Right. But what was worse was watching what they went through. It was this very unexpected roller coaster. So my daughter, they both went straight to the neonatal intensive care unit. Bria spent 4 months in the neonatal intensive care unit, and when she came home on oxygen and on some monitors, but was generally had a great prognosis. Trey, my son, spent 9 months in the NICU. And then he was transferred to the pediatric intensive care unit because he outgrew the NICU. So he did 4 months in the PICU and then 4.5 months in a rehab hospital.
Wow.
So he didn't come home for 18 months. When he came home, he was on a ventilator. He had a trach. He was oxygen dependent. He had 2 heart surgeries, 2 hernia surgeries, like literally anything that went wrong with him. So he had a poor prognosis of survival. And that was the beginning of my shift when I started thinking about how I'm going to handle this. So I always had the attitude, if they live, I will be forever grateful. And if they don't make it, I will be forever grateful. Just for what they, brought to my life for that short time. And you develop, a lot of people develop coping skills, they call them, or coping. I didn't develop that. I just developed new philosophies on life.
Interesting. During this whole process, you're saying, is where you begin to develop different coping skills? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I sat in the hospital from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. for 2 years. That's all I did. And then came home and dealt with my 2 at home. And when you sit there, you start to sort of rethink. You stop asking, if you do the right thing, you stop asking, why did this happen to me? And you start asking, what am I to learn from this? So I learned a couple of things. I learned, first of all, that energy is everything.
Okay.
So what you bring to something is what you're going to get from it.
Love it.
So, going into the NICU with a smile on my face every morning and greeting the doctors and greeting the nurses and saying, today's going to be a great day. I don't know.
How did you do that? Obviously, that's for those of us out there, myself having a child, I can't imagine what that was like. How did you do that? How did you get the courage and the strength for that? Where did that come from?
I come from a very strong line of women, first of all. And I should say that I lost one grandmother right after my husband told me he was leaving. And I lost the other grandmother 2 days after the twins were born. And
Wow.
they were the strength. Like, that was the strength. But the truth is, I learned from a young age to live in gratitude.
Tune in tomorrow for part 2 of this Daily Locker Room Showcase featuring Tammy Gaines.